Did you recently start training and you feel like you don't know what you're doing in the gym? Then this video is for you. Roll the intro. What's the crack, my happy face pullers? Your host Titox, back once again. Today's video is a continuation of last week's episode where I share with you 5 key lessons you can use for your own fitness journey. So if you haven't watched the first part yet, what are you waiting for? I'll add the link of the video in the description section down below, just for you. In today's video, not only will I share with you 5 new takeaways on fitness and physical performance, but I'm also going to take you with me to the gym to illustrate my points with real-world examples. Just like in the previous episode, I'm going to be walking you through my second upper body routine of the week, and I'm going to be talking about the things I'm doing and, more importantly, why I'm doing them. Before I switch to the other microphone for the voiceover, let me remind you that at the end of the video, I'll share with you 5 key lessons that will help you with your training or whatever physical endeavors you are pursuing at the moment. Without further ado, for the second upper body session of the week, I'm going to be alternating a pressing exercise with a pulling exercise. I'm going to kick things off with the classic barbell bench press, an exercise that I've been neglecting for years because the lift never really clicked for me. I never really felt like sticking with it for long periods of time because first, I didn't know how to do it properly, and second, because I was making pretty good strength gains with harder push-up progressions. However, many smarter, stronger, and more seasoned lifters than myself have always encouraged people to include this exercise as a staple lift in their training, so I did a few months ago. Truth be told, the bench press doesn't feel as good as push-ups, even though we're talking about 2 horizontal pressing movements. The push-ups just feel more natural to me, but I guess this is because I've been doing them more often. So what am I trying to accomplish here? Well, getting a strong bench press is definitely going to help me thicken up my entire upper body. So I'm going to prioritize the bench press over push-ups for at least a year to see what happens. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to ditch push-ups altogether, but they'll no longer be my primary horizontal pressing movement. Here you see me do a classic 5x5 scheme, but I'm actually practicing this lift at least 2 to 3 times per week, which means that I include this lift either at the end of a lower body session or on a day where I'm going to be filming one of my videos outside, which is primarily GPP work. That also explains at the same time why I don't think I need a push-only session for my upper body, because I'm already practicing the bench press quite frequently. After a pressing exercise, then I move on to a pull type of movement. Weighted pull-ups are meant to assist my goal of breaking through my plateau. These, combined with the explosive pull-ups and the assisted one-arm chin-ups that I showed you before, are going to be the key to build the strength and the muscle mass I need for me to keep making progress in my vertical pulling capacity. Here I'm working with a relatively high intensity range, somewhere around 90% of my 1 rep max. But I gotta be honest, judging from how much I am struggling on the last repetition of every set, I think it might be a good idea to drop my ego next week and practice the lift with a slightly lighter weight. Filming your training could be a good idea to assess whether you are making progress. Because if you make conclusions solely based on numbers, I think you could be missing the quality side of your lifts. You see, 15 kilograms of extra weights in the pull-ups are in fact an increase in intensity from last week's session. But at the expense of what? Of performing a last grinding repetition at the end of every set. And this can cause a high level of systemic fatigue that can negatively impact the rest of my workout. And this is something that I really want to avoid if I can. Because the truth of the matter is that you don't need to go to failure to make progress in the gym, especially when it comes to compound movements. For this particular exercise, I rather leave 1 repetition in reserve and make sure that I keep perfect form and consistent speed in every single repetition. The press. is the lift I prioritized in my previous training block. Now I have obviously lowered the frequency of my overhead press to allow for the bench press to take a more central stage. The main muscle groups that are worked during this lift are very similar than those of the bench press. However, two main differences. First one, you are in a standing position, and second, as a consequence of you standing, only your feet are in contact with a solid surface. That is going to put you in a much weaker position to push the weight away from you. Now your core, most of your back, glutes, and legs are contracting like hell to stabilize you and to create the solid base you need from which to press, essentially turning the press into a more athletic full body lift. I'm performing this exercise within a moderate rep range because my goal is to get stronger and bigger shoulders, upper chest, and triceps. So in order for me to do that, or to maximize that, I would remove any momentum coming from my legs. So I'm not doing a push press. I touch the bar with my chest at the bottom portion of the lift and lock out my arms at the top in every single repetition, which means that I'm performing this exercise with full range of motion. The Pendlay row is a great horizontal pulling exercise that I'm doing quite a lot lately. One of the things that I really like about this move is that you need to tap into an element of explosiveness to get the weight off the floor, and being explosive is something that I personally need to get better at. You're also teaching your body to position itself in a way that can maximize leverages to complete a repetition. What I mean by that is that your entire posterior chain is heavily committed. The other element I really like about this exercise is that it's not as physically taxing as other exercises I show you during my weekly routine. Pendlay rows skip the eccentric phase. And in case you didn't know, the eccentric phase is traditionally the part of any exercise where the most amount of muscle damage happens. I also find that core tightness and good posture are two key elements to pay attention to during Pendlay rows. In order for my back to be in a safe position here, I need to maintain a strong neutral spine. If you feel like your back starts rounding, put the bar down and rest. The last bit of energy I have left at this point is going to be used to metabolically stress relatively small muscle groups that need some extra work, meaning my arms. Because as I mentioned already, adding a little bit of meat to my arms is definitely going to assist me with the two lifts that I want to get better at, the bench press and pull-ups. I could have chosen two single joint exercises to finish off my biceps and triceps, but I figured that since I haven't done as many push-ups lately, because I'm currently prioritizing my bench press, I decided to throw in some push-ups at the end of the workout. But because I could do 20 plus push-ups fairly easily, I am making the necessary adjustments to increase the intensity in the exercise. A very effective way for me to do that is by simply placing my feet on an elevated surface, in this case the bench, and by bringing my hands fairly close together, almost like in a diamond push-up fashion. That way, I am shifting the focus away from my chest to get more muscle activation in my triceps. They have to work harder. Let's not forget that my upper body has taken quite a substantial beating already from all those heavy lifts. So, elevated close grip push-ups seem like a good choice for me to smoke my triceps somewhere around the 10 repetition mark. Right after completing the push-ups, I sit down on the bench and I perform hammer curls with a set of dumbbells. Again, pick a weight that you can do somewhere between 8 to 12 repetitions with. This is the end of the workout, so I'm being very mindful of the fatigue that I've been accumulating up to this point, so the weights that I'm using are on the slightly lighter side. Biceps, triceps, perfect for me to add some extra volume and time under tension at the end of my workout to unlock the gains I'm after. Yeah! Alright, let's move on to the 5 key lessons you can draw from my training. The vast majority of the exercises you saw me do in today's video, and the previous one for that matter, are big compound lifts. Compound lifts. These refer to exercises where two or more joints are involved in the execution of a move. In practicality, this means that a large area of your body is engaged to perform a given movement, calling on many muscles to contract. In fact, the only single joint isolation exercise I included in my 2 upper body sessions is the hammer curls with a set of dumbbells. And in case you didn't notice, I performed these at the very end of my training session. So if you have to leave the gym earlier for any reason, drop the isolation stuff, skip that part. Single joint exercises are not as important as your big compound movements. Similar to what I said in the previous video, the first 30 minutes of your training are the most important of the entire session. I'm a huge proponent of this mindset because you are literally attacking your workout at the very beginning when you have the most energy available. Capitalize on that and focus on the things that are going to get you closer to your goal or goals. As you saw today and last week, I want to break through my pull-up plateau by focusing on harder pull-up progressions and practice the technique of the bench press so that I can gradually overload my upper body with this lift. That's why my training is laid out the way it is. You want to identify what you want to accomplish and do that first. It's not a big deal if you get close to concentric failure once or twice in your workout, but you don't want to take every single set to a maximum grinding effort. However, if you're actively trying to reach concentric failure during your workout, I'm going to give you some general guidelines for you to keep in mind. You really want to do it towards the end of your workout because if you do it too soon, fatigue will decrease your performance for the rest of the session. And you don't want that, do you? Choose your battles wisely. Avoid reaching failure in exercises that cause great systemic fatigue. Go for less taxing options, perhaps some basic bodyweight movements or isolation work. And leave concentric failure for the last set of any given exercise. That's why I was so critical about the load I used for my weighted pull-ups, which was the second exercise of the session. It was too heavy for me. The last rep of every single set was a bit of a grind. Not ideal. So I will make a note of that and I will adjust the intensity of the exercise moving forward. You can't just do the same workout week after week, same exercises, same repetitions, same weights, and expect great results. You need to understand that your body will adapt to the stress levels it is imposed upon. Start a workout log so that you can keep yourself accountable to the things you're doing in the gym, and it could be a very good way to keep track of you making progress over time. That's what you saw me constantly talk about: number of repetitions, weight, percentage of my 1 rep max. Yeah, if you're a beginner, you just add more weight week after week and you do that for months. But once you've got some training experience under your belt, these little details matter a whole lot because they will help you make sure that you're pushing yourself hard enough in the gym for you to keep making gains over the long run. I still feel like many people get too emotionally attached to one particular way of training, to the point of disregarding the benefits that other disciplines may offer. I really hope that my last 2 videos have served as an example that it is okay to adopt elements from different disciplines of training to help you achieve the goals that you want. Listen, the only language your body understands is tension. It doesn't really care whether it comes from external weights or your own body weight. I really hope you found value in this video. If so, smash the like button so that other people get to see this content here on YouTube. Any questions or comments about the 10 key lessons that I shared with you in the last 2 videos are more than welcome. While you're typing your comment in the section down below, subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I'll see you guys and girls next week. In the meantime, drink plenty of water, eat your veggies, and do your face pulls.